Welcome back to American Truck Simulator and happy Thursday. I'm your host David Steele, and today I want to talk about the Cummins ISX12, the smaller of the two Cummins engines that came with the stock game when it was released in 2016. This stock ISX12 is available in two ratings in the game. You've got the base 370 horsepower 1350 foot-pound model and the uprated 425 horsepower 1650 foot-pounds variant. If you play the game, especially if you played it for a few years now, there's a pretty good chance that your very first brand new truck that you bought used the ISX12 engine, just depending on how impatient you were when you'd finally managed to save up enough money for that first truck. Stepping away from the game for just a moment, the ISX12 has largely been replaced by the Cummins X12. The ISX12 was produced in a variety of ratings all the way up to 500 horsepower for RVs or motorhomes, and as low as 310 horsepower. Cummins will tell you that it shares technology with the ISX15, but in a smaller, lighter package, and so is better suited to those weight-sensitive applications. But before I talk about the ISX12, let's dive in and take a look at the predecessor engine, the somewhat inelegantly named ISX11.9, which replaced the Cummins ISM. Cummins literature explains how the ISX11, and I quote here, doesn't just replace the ISM, it surpasses it in every way. Now their marketing department needs to consider how elegant ISX 11.9 is to say compared with ISM, but there you go. For the EPA 2010 ratings, the ISX 11.9 was available from 310 horsepower 1150 foot-pounds all the way up to 425 horsepower and 1550 foot-pounds. It's a 6-cylinder inline 11.9 litre engine, and I guess the capacity is obvious from the name, I suppose. Cummins also goes on to say it shares technologies with the larger big bore ISX15. One notable feature of the ISX 11.9 is it has a clutch engagement torque of 700 foot-pounds, which makes it a good choice for vehicles used in stop-start applications, such as refuse trucks, or I guess anything that needs to drive around the city. Let me just put that 700 foot-pounds of torque into perspective, because the clutch engagement torque of a mid-1970s Cummins KT, that's the big 19-litre behemoth, is just 650 foot-pounds. Engines came a long way in just 30-something years. At the time, the ISX 11.9 was described as having a high power-to-weight ratio and exceptional fuel efficiency. So Cummins reckoned this would be a good engine choice for LTL hauling. LTL being less than truckload. I love that expression. That's just a jargon way of saying, "Here mate, me wagon isn't full." In 2012 or thereabouts, Cummins revised the ISX 11.9 and their marketing department decided to rename it the ISX12. Today, it looks like the older ISX 11.9 has been renamed as the ISX12 on Cummins' website. Because let's face it, who wants to start talking about how efficient their ISX 11.9 is at the bar when you can just say ISX12, right? Mechanically, the ISX12 appears to be essentially identical to the ISX 11.9, but Cummins still managed to squeeze enhanced efficiency from the newer engine. Depending on where I look, it's reckoned to be somewhere between 2% to 5% more efficient. It also offers an even higher clutch engagement torque, up to at least 800 foot-pounds, from the same block, and all of this is accomplished through software tuning, or chipping the dang thing. Cummins advertised the ISX12 as a compact, heavy-duty, reliable power plant for many different applications, such as cement mixers and dump trucks, and day cabs and that wonderful less-than-truckload operation. They recycled some of their emissions technology used in the larger ISX15. Emission control systems on heavy-duty truck engines are arguably the biggest problem area, and so reusing a system that's proven to work, or at least is very familiar to mechanics, is a good thing. There are two ISX12 families in Cummins eyes, the vocational engines and the hauling engines. Vocational engine ratings range from 320 horsepower to 425 horsepower, and the engine includes both front and rear power takeoff options. For day cabs, those hauling jobs, those less than truckload, Cummins ratings range from 320 horsepower to 425 horsepower again, but with a number of smart torque options. And smart torque is Cummins' name for a variable torque output design, where in the higher gears the engine produces more torque, and so helps the truck keep moving at a highway cruise climbing a hill, rather than forcing the driver to shift down a gear or two. The ISX12 uses a Cummins-sourced variable geometry turbocharger, which is used as part of the engine brake. It's also one of the least favourite parts of the engine. The ISX12 is known to have turbocharger issues. The engine also uses Cummins XPI fuel system, which is another in-house technology. And this is Cummins' way of describing their common rail high-pressure fuel injection system. XPI systems can run at up to 36,000 psi, which allows a very precise amount of fuel to be delivered to a cylinder exactly when it's needed. It's all controlled by a single ECU. And the idea here is that it allows much more precise control over the combustion process, which minimizes wasted fuel emissions and maximizes performance and efficiency. In other words, the engine gets exactly the right amount of fuel to burn, given whatever circumstances it faces. It produces much less soot, because soot is basically wasted fuel. But you know, I should talk a little bit about the ISX12's name, and that's ignoring the 11.9 to 12 upgrade. You see, IS and X both have a meaning. IS stands for Cummins Interact System, which is what the manufacturer calls it's a whole blend of in-house fuel and emissions control systems. It's the name used to describe the bundling of the common rail fuel injection system, the variable geometry turbocharger, the SCR or selective catalytic reduction, and the use of diesel exhaust fluid. It's known as AdBlue in Europe. IS has been used with other engines. We have the ISM, for instance, and I'll, if there's interest, do a video on that one at some point. Now X, gotta love marketing departments. After their decision to rename the ISX 11.9 to the ISX 12, Cummins' marketing department chose the X to mean extended performance. And that's basically Cummins' way of saying it's a tough engine. So it offers a strong block, a strong crankshaft, high-performance cooling system, an intercooler, high-performance turbocharger, and injection systems. So really, to give the Cummins ISX12 its full and proper name, it's the Cummins Interact System Extended Performance 12. I'm so glad they renamed it from the ISX 11.9 to the ISX 12. If you enjoyed this brief rundown of the Cummins ISX 12, let me know in the comments below. You can always subscribe for more content, mostly around American Truck Simulator. But you should know I don't always take my virtual trucking seriously. I take my engine definitions seriously, but I also like to blow things up. And speaking of which, I'll see everyone in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Goodbye.